I gave him my time, and at first it didn't feel like I was giving anything at all. It felt natural, it felt easy, it felt like something I wanted to do, something I chose without hesitation. My name is Mia, I'm 28 years old, and my life before him was quiet but stable. I had my routine, my work, my small circle of peace, and I was okay with that. I didn't feel like something was missing, at least not until he came into my life. His name was Noah, and the first time we spoke, it was nothing special, just a simple conversation, a few messages, nothing deep, nothing emotional. But there was something about him, something calm, something comfortable, something that made me stay. And slowly, without realizing it, those small conversations became a part of my daily life. We started talking every day, not because we had to, but because we wanted to, and that made it feel real. He would text me in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, and almost always at night. And those messages became something I looked forward to, something that made my day feel complete. He would ask me how I was, he would listen, he would respond in a way that made me feel heard. And little by little, those moments started to mean more to me than I expected. I started making time for him, adjusting my schedule, waiting for his replies, checking my phone again and again, and it didn't feel like effort. It felt like something I was happy to do, because I thought he was doing the same for me. He would say things like, "I like talking to you," or "You're important to me." And those words stayed with me. They felt real. They felt honest. They made me believe that what we had was something more than just conversation, something deeper, something meaningful. And without realizing it, I started giving him more than just my time. I started giving him my attention, my energy, my thoughts, my emotions. I started thinking about him when I woke up, when I was working, when I was about to sleep. He became a part of my day without even trying, and I didn't question it because it felt right. It felt like something that was growing into something real. But slowly, something began to change. Not suddenly, not clearly, just small things. Things that were easy to ignore at first. His replies became slower, shorter, less frequent. The long conversations turned into short messages. The warmth in his words started to fade, and I noticed it. Of course I did. But I told myself it was nothing, that he was just busy, that everything was still the same. But deep inside, I felt it, the distance, the silence, the shift, and it made me uneasy. It made me question things I didn't want to question, but I stayed quiet. I didn't ask him what was wrong. I didn't tell him how I felt, because I was afraid. Afraid that if I said something, I might lose him completely, and I wasn't ready for that. So I kept giving. I kept making time. I kept waiting. I kept hoping that things would go back to how they were, but they didn't. Instead, the silence grew louder, heavier, more painful. There were days when he wouldn't reply at all, and I would stare at my phone, wondering if he would text, wondering if he even thought about me anymore. And when he finally replied, it was always the same. "Sorry, I was busy." Just a simple sentence, no explanation, no emotion, no effort, and I accepted it every time, even though it hurt, even though it didn't feel right, because I still believed in what we had, or maybe I just didn't want to accept the truth. And then one day, something inside me changed. I realized that I was the only one trying, the only one waiting, the only one giving, and that realization was painful because it made me see everything clearly. I wasn't part of his life. I was just part of his free time, something he turned to when he had nothing else to do, something he could ignore when he was busy, something that didn't really matter as much as I thought it did. And that truth was hard to accept, but it was real. And for the first time, I asked myself a question I had been avoiding for a long time. Why am I giving so much to someone who gives me so little? And I didn't have an answer, because the truth was simple. I cared more than he did. I was more invested than he was. I was more present than he ever planned to be. And once I understood that, something inside me started to break. Not loudly, not suddenly, but slowly, deeply, like a quiet realization that changes everything. That night, I didn't wait for his message. I didn't check my phone. I didn't expect anything. I just sat in silence, thinking about everything, thinking about how much time I had given, how much energy I had invested, how much of myself I had shared, and what I got in return. Silence, just silence. And in that moment, I understood something important. Time is not just minutes and hours, it's a part of your life. It's something you can never get back. And I had given so much of it to someone who didn't value it, someone who didn't see it the same way I did. And that realization hurt, but it also gave me clarity. It made me see things differently. It made me understand that I deserved more than silence, more than excuses, more than half-hearted effort. I deserved someone who would give me their time the same way I gave mine. Someone who would choose me, not just when it was convenient, but always. And for the first time, I made a choice, not out of anger, not out of sadness, but out of self-respect. I stopped texting him. I stopped waiting. I stopped hoping. And it wasn't easy. It hurt. It felt empty at first, like something was missing. But slowly that feeling started to fade, and in its place, something new began to grow. Peace. A quiet, steady peace that didn't depend on someone else's message. And one day, I realized something. I didn't lose him. I lost the idea of him, the version of him I created in my mind, the version that cared as much as I did. And once I let go of that, everything became easier. Everything became clearer. And if you are listening to this, if you have ever given your time to someone who only gave you silence in return, remember this. Your time is valuable. Your attention is valuable. Your presence is valuable. Don't give it to someone who treats it like it doesn't matter, because you deserve someone who sees your time as something precious, not something optional. Thank you for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And always remember, the right person will never make you feel like your time was wasted.